Good morning, I'm WaywornWyrm, and welcome to my channel. And welcome back to another episode of the Monster Manual Backward. Today we are going to be talking about the Bandit and the Bandit Captain. So starting with the Bandit, it's got a really short stat block. Armor class of 12, hit point range of 4 to 18, with 11 points being the average, speed 30 feet, medium humanoid, any race, any non-lawful alignment, which I will get back to in a second. Plus 1 dex, plus 1 con, 11 strength, everything else is 10. Small passive perception. They can speak one language, usually common. Challenge rating of 1/8, and they have a scimitar and a light crossbow. And they have one attack per turn, and as you can see with the scimitar and light crossbow, one's your normal melee attack and one's your ranged attack. And they do a little bit of damage. And then the description of it says, bandits rove in gangs and are sometimes led by thugs, veterans, or spellcasters. Not all bandits are evil. Oppression, drought, disease, or famine can often drive otherwise honest folk to a life of banditry. Pirates are the bandits of the high seas. They might be freebooters interested only in treasure and murder, or they might be privateers sanctioned by the crown to attack and plunder an enemy nation's vessels. And yeah, that's just kind of on the surface, the Bandit. Now, starting with going back to their alignment, they can be any non-lawful alignment, which means neutral good, chaotic good, true neutral, chaotic neutral, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. But the thing to highlight there is chaotic good and neutral good. And I really like that fact that they take a moment to point out that good people can become bandits through being dealt just a bad enough card. And going back to the fact that they're humanoid any race, as I've had in all of my previous videos, one of the easy, quick ways to differentiate bandits from just each other, whether you have a bunch of small encounters with one or two bandits, or a couple of encounters with several bandits, pick different races. Especially with the 11 strength, pick something that gives even a +1 to strength. Now, granted, with the scimitar, they are using their dexterity, so that's probably not going to affect them. But this leads really easy into my second way, and that's give them different weapons. If we're going back on some bandits might be good, Robin Hood's Band of Merry Men. They don't use scimitars and light crossbows. They use quarterstaffs and longbows. And that's a quick, easy way. Go to the equipment section of the player's handbook and pick out a ranged weapon and pick out a melee weapon and change the scimitar and light crossbow. Or just change one of them. But all of that being said, how would I use a bandit? I would use a bandit as a it would almost always be in a combat encounter Very rarely would I want to use them in anything else. They probably wouldn't show up in an exploration encounter. They might show up in a roleplay encounter if it's something like the party is hired to go parlay with the bandits or something. Although if they're good bandits, there are hopefully your players are going to be more likely to talk with them and have a roleplay encounter. However, if you do have good bandits and your players just go, oh, they're bandits, and kill them, then that's something that can come back later, is they killed a bunch of good people who were forced into a shitty situation that they probably didn't want to be in. So there's something to play with. But beyond that, bandits are supposed to be your beginning low-level mook. And that's okay. You're probably going to... The players are probably going to outgrow bandits fairly quickly. And this is the first entry we've gotten to where I wouldn't try and level them up or anything. I would just pick something different. Later on in the book, something that we'll get to in several episodes is the thug. The thug makes a fine addition to the bandit, or a fine replacement to the bandit. It's a slightly higher level, it's harder, and yeah. So that's about all on the bandit. Let's move to the Bandit Captain. Now the Bandit Captain has a higher armor class by 4, which makes him 20% harder to hit, and his hit points range from 28 to 100. And he has bonuses to almost every skill, or almost every attribute. He's got several saving throws that they're bonuses to, a couple of skills, knows 2 languages, challenge rating 2, and has a multi-attack. So either 2 hits with the scimitar and 1 with the dagger, or 2 hits with the dagger. And has a reaction, parry, which adds +2 to their AC against a given attack. Which obviously you'd want to do if an attack met the DC or beat it by 1. And since it's a reaction, he can do that every time between his turns, but just once, but still. And so he's kept the scimitar, but traded in the light crossbow for a dagger, which can be used as a melee attack or a ranged attack. Apparently he has multiple. The captain has multiple daggers. Doesn't say how many multiple daggers are, but has multiple daggers. So, if he has to make ranged attacks, he would throw daggers. And then there's some things about them wanting treasure and craving infamy. The really weird thing is the stat block for the Bandit Captain is very much similar to the Bandit, and they make a point that bandits might be good people. Like, they pointed out the alignment restriction allows for good bandits. And the Bandit Captain alignment restriction allows for good bandit captains. But the 3-paragraph descriptor about the Bandit Captain doesn't seem to support that there are good bandit captains. So there's that. I think that's a really weird thing. I don't know. But again, how you would go... Well, I think your bandit captain, they need to have a name. They need to have a race. They need to have a gender. Maybe not necessarily a backstory, but it wouldn't hurt. Especially if there's going to be a role-playing encounter. Then you're going to want to put in personality and a backstory, because this NPC, the Bandit Captain, is the one that your players are going to almost exclusively interact with for that entire encounter. So you're going to want to know things about this Bandit Captain as soon in advance as you can. But beyond that, Bandit Captains wouldn't make a very good solo fight. And Xanathar's Guide to Everything does address that. So if you have Xanathar's Guide, I highly, highly recommend it for any of the NPCs we're going to be covering here in Appendix B. And most NPCs in particular. Especially because near the end, they have random dice tables for male and female names from most common cultures that generic fantasy D&D is going to pull from. And there's a lot of rollable tables that you can use to figure out why your Bandit Captain is the way they are. This is also one that I really wouldn't level up. What I would do instead is give them some sort of boss that is harder. So maybe there are 3 or 4 bandit captains that are in service to maybe a necromancer or maybe a knight. Well, not really a knight. Knights aren't that much stronger. Maybe say... Actually, I don't know. Going through these in the monster manual, which again is what I want to stick with, especially for this series, there really isn't anything that's very high in Appendix B, challenge rating-wise. With the assassin and the archmage really being the 2 exceptions to that. But what I would do is make the bandit captain subservient to someone higher level, someone harder to kill. And so when you kill the bandit captain or defeat him, you haven't won, you're one step closer. And I think that's about everything for this. Make sure to tune in on... I lost my page. On May 9th for the next episode of the Monster Manual Backward. And that will be covering the Berserker. And make sure to tune in tomorrow to the introductory episode and first episode of Sword and Sorcery and Retail.